Alright, so what I have here is a darning foot. A darning foot is a special kind of presser foot that is designed to do something similar to free motion embroidery. But one of the important differences between a free motion embroidery presser foot and a darning foot is how wide this area is here. See this round circle? With free motion embroidery, this will sit right in between your feed dogs. So when you use a free motion embroidery presser foot, you don't get traction at all from the feed dogs with your fabric, which is great for free motion, but it's not great if you are going to be applying an embroidered patch to material. You actually want to use the feed dogs, and the feed dogs are these guys here. Let me raise them. So the feed dogs are these kind of textured stainless steel shoes, I guess. It's kind of in the bottom of your sewing machine. So before you begin sewing your free motion embroidery, one of the things that you will want to do is you'll want to prepare your needle, your thread, and your project as appropriate. So I'm using a cotton jersey net, which is a stretch material. So that's the material I'm going to be applying my embroidered patch onto. So one thing I am going to do before I get started is I'm going to take a couple of pins and just really pin around the perimeter of my patch. It's an irregularly shaped patch, so it's not square and it's not circular. So adding a few extra pins perpendicular to your line of stitching will help you a lot as you apply your patch using free motion embroidery. Okay, so now that I've got all of this prepared, one thing I am going to do is I'm going to change the color of my thread to suit the colors found in the patch in the areas that I'm going to be sewing. So I'm going to go ahead and replace my white thread with black thread, both on the top and in the bobbin. And because I'm working with the stretch material, one thing I am going to do is I'm going to switch out my bobbin thread with a special kind of sewing thread called woolly nylon. Woolly nylon. So here's, just to give you some perspective. So here's some woolly nylon thread, and if you can see, it's a little fuzzy, you know. That's what allows the woolly nylon thread to stretch. So you actually want to see that. And in this case, I'm going to use black woolly nylon in the bottom because it matches the black line of stitching I'll be doing up top. Okay, let me pull out this thread, and I'm going to do is change the color of my top thread to, whoops, come on, white. It's hard for you to grab your thread with your fingertips. Feel free to grab a pair of tweezers. I got these at a medical supply store. I don't know exactly what kind of tweezers they are. They were like $1, and these are fantastic. So feel free to use that. And just to make sure that my machine is threaded. Oh, why is that still white? Oh, just kidding. Switch to black. Okay, perfect. Alright, I'll grab my tweezers. use our tweezers to pull out our bobbin thread. We're good to go. So now we've pinned down our applique. We're happy with the placement. We're ready to start sewing. We've got the darning foot on, and the feed dogs are up. So I'm going to lower the presser foot, and you're going to see that the foot jumps, but that's as it should be. There we go. And just like with free motion embroidery, you're going to control the direction of stitches just by using your hands. One of the better things about using a darning foot instead of a free motion embroidery foot when you're using cotton jersey knit is because this presser foot interacts with the feed dogs on your sewing machine, it provides some stability to the cotton jersey knit, which is what you want. With free motion embroidery, you typically use non-stretch wovens to do that kind of stuff. So, you know, moving your fabric around from left to right while you're stitching is not much of an issue, if any at all. Whereas with a stretch material, you don't have that privilege. So what the darning foot does, it, for just a moment, engages the feed dog, so that stabilizes your fabric. So that means that your stitches are going to come out and they're going to look great. And the skills that you'll need to use the darning foot or the free motion embroidery foot, patience, lots and lots of patience. You're going to need a lot of it. And you're going to need to have just enough motor skill to slowly move your fabric around underneath your machine. I have a wonderful student. He's like 8. He's wonderful in so many ways, but he's also 8 years old. We did our best to modify using the darning and free motion embroidery feet so that he could at least start to learn it, because he's very into free motion embroidery. But as an 8-year-old, he simply lacks the requisite hand-eye coordination to really take advantage of the presser feet. We'll try again in a year, but it never really occurred to me until then how floppy you are just as a human being when you're a child. And it's like, you know exactly what you're doing, but you're just like, wait, I haven't figured out how to make my synapses do that exact thing with my muscles, so give me like a year and come back. I strongly encourage you to use a stabilizer underneath the patch. If the patch doesn't already have a stabilizer, most of them do, add a stabilizer. If for some reason you can't or don't want to stabilize the patch itself, you can always put something stabilizing on the actual fabric you're applying the patch to as a stabilizer. Even starch, you know, if it's a very small, lightweight patch, feel free to use starch or even sizing to stabilize your patch and your textile. It just can't be floppy. Okay, so now as we use the darning foot, just gonna go right around. Uh-oh. Okay, so I'm going to take a look. I think I may have run out of thread, but when you're done with your darning foot, what you're going to do is you're going to lift your presser foot. Oops. Here, I'm going to, looks like I have a little bit of a pile up here. I think that's because I'm out of thread on the bottom. Okay. And now we can see what this looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out the these extra pins. And there you go. So now you can see up close. The darning foot did an excellent job of helping me go right around these lines on the applique so that it's imperceptible where it was sewn. And now if we flip it over to the back, you can see that using a darning foot, I get an almost perfect outline of the applique as I went around putting it on to our underlying orange cotton jersey knit. And you'll see that this is especially flat and straight. That's what you want. And this is why you want to use woolly nylon in your bobbin thread only when doing patches with stretch material. So you just get it so much of a better outcome. There's really no comparison. So I hope this has been helpful to you. Let's pan back to the presser foot that I'm using. And again, I'm using woolly nylon thread in the bottom, so that's what this fuzzy guy is. And then in the top, I'm just using my regular, all-purpose black, I believe this is polyester thread. There you go. By the way, when you start to use your darning foot, be sure that you start with your bobbin thread and your top thread. You want to have a lot of extra length, an unusually long amount of length here. And again, here's the difference between the darning foot and the free motion embroidery foot. The darning foot goes all the way across the bottom feed dogs. So I'll go ahead and run my machine without anything in underneath, but see how you can tell how with every stitch it's engaging the feed dogs here. With a free motion embroidery foot, that is not necessarily the case. I actually really don't like it when manufacturers say that they're interchangeable, because they're not. That is a falsehood. So here is free motion embroidery foot going in. And now pull this out. And without anything under it, I'm going to show you the big differences. So I'm going to lower my presser foot, and if you look down here, the first thing you're going to notice is that the embroidery foot falls right between the two feed dogs. Okay? So once you start to stitch, this is what it looks like. The feed dogs are doing nothing for you. Because there's nothing on the feed dogs. There's no tension, there's no nothing to help you. So, hang on, let me resolve a quick issue. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna replace my bobbin. Okay, cool. So everything's where it should be. Now, to use the embroidery foot efficiently, what you want to do is you want to lower these feed dogs. And on every machine is different. On my Bernina, I have a little toggle button. And see how the feed dogs have lowered? This is how this foot is designed to work. It's designed so that you can take a likely very well stabilized fabric, move it around, and create, some sort of embroidery. Let me see. Okay, this is perfect. Okay, so I have a swatch of starched cotton muslin. So it's got a bit of stability on account of it being heavily starched. So with free motion embroidery, you'll lower your presser foot, and see how if I just let it go, it doesn't do anything. So free motion embroidery wants you to actually move this around. But the user, are the person moving it around, not the feed dogs in the machine. Okay? So for patches, use the darning foot. Patooey. I don't need that one. Yeah, this one. Use the darning foot. Use the darning foot with your feed dogs up. And you'll get tremendous results. It'll be great. All right.